It was a moonlit night, and Flavio was called to respond to a call. He is a police officer in Texas and was alerted because some boys had broken into a nursing home. When he arrived at the location, the gate was open, creaking slowly with the cold midnight wind. The silence was strange, too heavy for a place that should have been full of people. Flavio entered with his flashlight in hand and noticed that all the lights were off. In the main hallway, wheelchairs were scattered as if someone had fled in a hurry. Then he heard something, dragging footsteps coming from the back of the building. When he pointed the flashlight, he saw the shadow of a very tall person standing at the end of the corridor. But the worst part wasn't the height, it was that the shadow seemed to have many hands moving across the walls. Flavio called out for the boys, but who answered was a hoarse whisper that seemed to come from every room at the same time. And at that moment he realized a terrible thing. There were no elderly people in that place, only empty beds and deep marks on the walls, as if something had been dragged during the night. That wing was closed off because maintenance was being done, and the elderly were at the back of the nursing home. I went toward the shadow, and suddenly one of the boys came running, all scared, trembling, and whispering that we weren't alone inside. His face was pale as paper, and his eyes seemed unable to focus on anything. He grabbed my arm tightly and pointed to the dark corridor behind me. He said that one of his friends had entered an empty room, but the door closed on its own. At that moment, we heard a dry noise coming from inside, like something heavy falling to the floor. I walked to the door slowly and pushed it. It opened, creaking. The room was completely empty, except for a rusty bed and the window swinging with the wind. That's when the boy behind me started crying and whispered that this wasn't the same room where the friend had entered. And before I could ask anything else, we heard dragging footsteps again, but this time coming from right behind us in the corridor that had been empty just seconds ago. We left the room and went after the noise, the boy begging to leave while I said I had to find the others. We walked through the cold corridor until we reached a large room full of old sofas covered with white sheets that swayed slightly with the wind coming through the broken windows. In the corner of the room, a girl was crying, hugging her knees. She was a friend of the boy with me, and when she saw us, she lifted her tear-streaked face and said she had seen the other friend entering the bathroom down the hall. She swore she heard him calling for help, but his voice sounded strange, as if it was coming from very far away. We went to the bathroom door, and it was half open, banging slowly against the wall. I pushed the door, and the light from my flashlight revealed something on the wet floor. Footprints, many footprints, but none of them seemed human. The boy behind me started trembling even more when we heard the toilet flush on its own. Then a voice came from inside one of the closed stalls, calling our names. But none of us had said our names in there. And when the stall door began to open slowly, I realized that underneath it there were no feet, only a shadow spreading across the floor.
We stood frozen, unable to breathe, while the stall door continued opening slowly with a long, painful creak. The shadow on the floor began to stretch, advancing toward us as if it were alive. The girl behind me let out a low scream when something slammed hard inside the stall, as if someone were struggling. Then we heard the missing boy's voice again, but now it came from all directions in the bathroom at once. The walls began to echo his name, repeating in increasingly distorted whispers. The flashlight in my hand flickered twice, plunging the place into almost total darkness. When the light returned, the stall was completely open, and there was no one inside. Only the mirror above the sink, which now reflected 4 people in the bathroom. Me, the 2 boys, the girl, and a 5th tall silhouette standing right behind us. I turned with the flashlight, and the shadow disappeared, as if it had never been there. We decided it was time to leave that place, but when we looked for the exit, we couldn't find anything. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, as if we were trapped in a labyrinth that changed with every step. The walls were dirty and marked with deep scratches, some fresh, some old, forming symbols that made no sense. The air grew heavier, humid, and a metallic smell filled our nostrils. Every door we tried to open led to another corridor, another empty room, or a hall that seemed to repeat. Suddenly, we heard laughter, low, almost inaudible, coming from all directions in the bathroom. The boys began to cry, and the girls shook uncontrollably. I felt something following me, breathing close to my neck, but whenever I turned, there was nothing. And then, at the end of a corridor, a door opened on its own, revealing a room full of empty chairs, all turned backward, as if someone was waiting for us. We found the third boy completely covered in mud, eyes wide, body trembling as if he had been running for hours. I ended up in the backyard, he stammered, his voice almost choked. But something pulled me inside. I couldn't see what it was. He trembled even more when he tried to stand, as if memories of what he had seen hit him suddenly. The floor seemed to move slightly under our feet, and a cold wind blew through the corridors, whispering our names. Every door we passed creaked as if someone were watching us from inside. The girl behind me held my hand tightly, and the boys kept looking over their shoulders. Then suddenly, we heard a dry noise, something falling and rolling across the floor behind us. We turned, but there was nothing, only the shadows cast by the broken windows. A strong smell, like wet earth and iron, filled the air, and the feeling of being surrounded became unbearable. It was as if the entire nursing home had awakened and was watching us, silently laughing at every step we took. Then, ahead, a large, heavy door began to open slowly on its own, as if inviting us in, and something inside it emitted a sound, a deep moan that went through the bones. An invisible force pulled them, each in a different direction, and I was thrown out of the nursing home with the impact, feeling the hard ground beneath my back. The door closed and locked itself, trapping the teenagers inside. Horrible screams echoed throughout the nursing home, tearing through the silent night. For minutes that felt like an eternity, I only heard the wind and the whispers from the broken windows. Then suddenly, the door opened on its own, and I ran in, completely terrified. The teenagers were standing, floating a few inches above the ground, their eyes completely white and glazed. In seconds, they fell, knocking everything around, breaking furniture and shattering glass, dying right there in front of me. Some lights turned on, and the nursing home returned to silence, seemingly normal. I took a deep breath, called for backup, and summoned an ambulance, but something chilled me to the bone. There was a strange mark, like a burn in the shape of a symbol on each of the teenagers, and also on me, on my arm. I looked at the empty corridor ahead and felt that the mark was pulsing, as if it were alive. And then I heard, coming from inside the nursing home, a whisper, "You will never get out of here."